Welcome back to another video, and today we got our Week 3 College Football Top 25 rankings. We're doing these videos every single Tuesday, so make sure you subscribe if you are new, tune in. We also do NFL Weekly Picks every Wednesday. We're doing MLB videos every week, gearing up towards the playoffs there. We also do college basketball and NBA, so if any of that sounds interesting, make sure you go on there, subscribe, and turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss. But with all that being said, we got a lot to talk about. Let's go ahead and get right into the rankings. Now, this is going to be a little controversial. I'm going to keep Florida in my top 25 as of right now. I had them at 12 last week. I don't want to drop them all the way out of the top 25. They have a game against LSU on the road. If they're going to lose that game, they probably get dropped out just because with them being 1 and 2. But yeah, we got to talk about this game. They lose to South Florida at home. Obviously, you can't lose this game. I know South Florida looks really good. We'll get to them in a little bit, but let's focus on the Florida side of things. DJ Lagway had 222 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. They actually ran the ball pretty well. If you're Florida, you just can't lose this game. It is really that simple. This was the easy part of your schedule. I mean, look at this next 4-game stretch. At LSU, at Miami, those are two top 5 teams. Texas is a top 10 team. Preseason number 1, and then they go at A&M. That's maybe the hardest place to play in the country, and if A&M does go out and beat Notre Dame this week, A&M could very well be a top 10 team when they play. Not to mention they have Georgia on the schedule. They play at Ole Miss. They play against Tennessee. They play against Florida State. All those teams are ranked. So with that being said, this is not a good look at all for Florida. They did have the lead till the very last second in this game, but obviously I'm not too impressed. They needed to win this game. I'm not fully panicked just because this maybe was a bit of a trap game, overlooking their game against LSU on the road this week. But you can't overlook South Florida. We saw what they did against Boise State week 1, and now Florida's sitting here at 1-1. And yeah, Billy Napier back in the hot seat. That is it's a tough scene if you're a Florida Gators fan. Now, this upcoming game at LSU, I'm very worried about this game. Obviously, I'm very high on LSU. They didn't look great last week, but I think that was also just them kind of looking ahead. LSU went out and beat Clemson on the road. I don't know if I can sit here and say Florida goes into LSU and wins. I think they will put up a fight in the first half. I think it'll be very close at halftime, but I think LSU will pull away late. I just don't see how I can pick Florida to win this game on the road here, especially with how much I like how LSU is playing, and that defense looks so solid. I think Florida's going to have some trouble scoring the ball. I do think, though, that with their backs being against the wall here, kind of going all out, because, I mean, look at the schedule. They need these wins. They needed to win last week. They didn't. I think they put up a fight in the first half, but I do think LSU is ultimately too much. The spread here is 9.5, so I do have LSU actually covering. But, yeah, I don't know. I kept Florida in the top 25 this week. If they end up losing this game, which I think they will probably move out. The next closest team is probably like Auburn, but there are definitely more teams I considered for this last spot here. Moving on over to number 24 though, it's going to be Arizona State. We're starting off this rankings video with a little bit of negativity here. We got two pretty big fallers, two pretty big losers. I did say going into this game I wouldn't look past it. It's a road game against an SEC team. You never want to look past a game like that no matter who it is. And Arizona State does go out and lose this game. Now, I will say they probably should have won. I know they were down 17-0 at one point, but they clawed all the way back. They were winning 20-17 with a minute and a half to go. Mississippi State does get that 58-yard touchdown to win the game. I mean, Sam Levitt just played really bad. He had 82 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. It was just really rough for him. He had a rough time. Now, they did kind of save the game with their 250 rushing yards. Their running backs really got it going. They had 2 guys, 18 carries and 23 carries, 110 yards and 105 yards. That's ridiculous. Jordan Tyson was obviously very good. We know what he can do. He had 68 of the 82 passing yards in this game. It was actually pretty crazy. And yeah, it was just a bad game for Arizona State, and they almost won. They probably should have won. Honestly, I'm not super worried about them. Obviously, you would have liked if they were to win this game. But I don't know. I'm really not too worried. They only lost by 4 points on the road against an SEC team. I'm not sure that Mississippi State is all that good, so obviously you would have liked to hold on and win this game. But I mean, they gave up a big play at the end of the game. I think if they go out and win these games they have on their Big 12 schedule, because I mean, it is kind of a tough schedule. They got Baylor, Utah, Iowa State all on the road. Those are all teams that could or are ranked. Texas Tech at home as well. That's not an easy game. I think Arizona State will be all right. I think they have the talent to be all right. I'm not as worried about them as I am as Florida, so that's kind of why I didn't drop them as far. They got an upcoming game against Texas State. I do have them winning here 37-17. I think they have a nice bounce back game. Although I feel like Texas State always keeps it a little interesting for some reason. So I have them winning by 20. Um, but yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned if I'm an Arizona State fan. Obviously, you would want to win that game though. They do have to move down quite a bit though. 23, I'm gonna have Indiana. I'm not sure how to feel about Indiana. They did win 56-9, so I guess that's good. But it was kind of a close game for a little, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't watch this game too much. Yeah, I mean it was 21-6 at half. It's not like a super close game. It was 21-9 at one point. I mean, they really got it going in the third quarter. They scored three touchdowns in the span of like 6 minutes. I mean, it was pretty crazy. Fernando Mendoza had a pretty solid game, so I guess that's exciting. He had 200, almost 250 yards, four touchdowns, no picks. Um, I don't know. I kind of want to. I'm really excited for this Illinois Indiana game because I feel like that's going to give me a good gauge of both those teams, how legit they are. But yeah, at this point, Indiana's just kind of cruising through their non-conference schedule. They got a game against Indiana State coming up. I do think they win pretty easily here. But yeah, I'm going to keep Indiana near the bottom of these rankings till I see otherwise. Although they do open with a brutal three-game stretch here in their Big Ten schedule: Illinois at Iowa and at Oregon. They could very well go out and lose all three of those games. I wouldn't be shocked if they did. But at this point, I'm going to have them at 23. Number 22 is going to be Michigan. We got to talk about this. So they moved down 9 spots after going out to Norman, Oklahoma, losing to the Sooners 24-13. And yeah, it was a pretty rough game. Bryce Underwood, if you look at the box score, 9 for 24, 142 yards. It's not great, just stats wise. I think he played better than the stats will say. It was a very tough game to win. It was a very tough environment. You're going in, it's only your second game ever as a true freshman. Going into an environment like that at night, it's tough. This is why I picked Oklahoma to win the game. I will say Justice Haynes, absolute stud. He is going to be a problem here for any team that plays Michigan. And honestly, Michigan, this is a very, very easy schedule. There's a chance that they are 10-1 when they go out and go to play Ohio State. I mean, I don't know if there's that many. I don't know if I could see really a loss on the schedule. Maybe at USC. USC looks pretty interesting. At Nebraska is not easy. Washington looks pretty good, I guess, but it's kind of a far travel. I don't know. I mean, I think Michigan's better than all these teams. I think there's a very good chance Michigan ends up in the playoffs just because. I mean, I think their floor might be 9-3, 10-2. So I'm not too worried. I do want to let them see. I do want to see them let Bryce Underwood throw the ball a little bit more. Maybe let him unwind. But I mean, he really. It was 14-0 at halftime. Like, you know what I mean? Now, Justice Haynes did start out the second half with a 75-yard run, and I was like, okay, here we go, Michigan coming back. But they just, after that, I mean, they couldn't move the ball the entire game. Besides that big run, they only had 2 field goals late in the third quarter. And yeah, the defense played all right. But you got to score more than 13 points, and they scored all 13 in the third quarter. I think I'm not too worried though. I think Bryce Underwood will be fine. He showed a lot of flashes. They just didn't really let him do all that much, and he kind of needed to for them to win this game. Against Central Michigan, I do think they win. I think it's a typical Michigan game, just kind of low scoring. They do end up winning by a lot of points by the end, however. Number 21 is going to be Texas Tech, moving down one. They didn't really do anything to deserve moving down. It's just team behind them I kind of wanted ahead. But Texas Tech looks pretty solid. 62-14 victory over Kent State. They let the backups in. It was just a very, very easy game. They were up 48-0 at halftime. There was never a doubt that this one was going to be a game. And yeah, Texas Tech rolls through as they should. They're playing Kent State. Against Oregon State, I do think it'll be a little closer. Oregon State was, a decent team a few years back. They were in the Pac-12 before that got blown up. Still, at least a competitive team, more competitive than Kent State, I would say. So I do think it'll be a little bit closer, but I do think Texas Tech will win pretty easily. However, I'm going to have them winning by 22. Number 20, South Florida, man. Welcome to the playoff picture. At this point, South Florida's got to be the group of 5 representative. If you have anyone else over them, you're just wrong. Simply put, I mean, they go out week 1, beat Boise State, who I was predicting would be the group of 5 representative in the playoffs for the second year in a row. They go out and beat them 34-7. I'm like, all right, I got my eyes out for South Florida. They play Florida on the road. Depending on how they play this, if they keep it close, South Florida could be that team. Not only did they keep it close, they go out there and actually win this game on the road against a team I had ranked in the top 15 at the time. Now all of a sudden, South Florida, with a chance to go out to Miami and win, if they win this game, South Florida could very well be a top 10 team next week, which is insane. I'm not sure if they will, just because I don't know how much they have left in the tank, but you look at the schedule, it's very easy. If this is their only loss, they finish the season 11-1, they go out and win their conference championship. They're 12-1, only loss being to Miami on the road. I think South Florida's in for a playoff spot if they just can go out and take care of business. Now, if they go out and beat Miami on Saturday, that'll be very interesting. I will say their quarterback against Florida was playing really nice. Byron Brown, he's a dual threat guy. He's very exciting. I think he could be something for them. He's looked really good. He's led them to 2 huge victories already. We'll see if he can do it against Miami on the road. If this game was at home, I'd feel a lot better about this. Miami's actually a 17.5-point favorite. I think Miami does win. I think South Florida can cover, though. I think 17.5 is a lot. I don't think they're giving them enough credit. But if you're Miami, you can't look over this game. I mean, Florida was doing it. They got the LSU game this week now. If you're Miami, you got to have your full attention on this team because they have just knocked off 2 ranked teams in a row and are looking to do it a third time here. So we'll see. I do think Miami will win at home, though. I just think they're too talented. But maybe I'm sleeping on South Florida again. We will see. But this is a very exciting development. Did not expect this at all. Number 19 is going to be Utah. They're moving up 6 spots. Maybe it's a little dramatic, but I think Utah looks really good, man. They go out and beat Cal Poly 63-9. Maybe I'm too excited here, but Utah looks really, really dangerous, man. Devin Dampier looks legit. They were getting so many guys going on the ground. I mean, they were really just doing everything they wanted, which you kind of would expect against Cal Poly. But yeah, they were up 35-6 at halftime. In the third quarter, they continued to add to that lead, and then they got the starters at one point. But yeah, Utah looks really good, man. That's 2 big wins, 2 dominating wins, and one of them was at UCLA. That's not an easy game. Now they play at Wyoming. I actually think this could be somewhat of a trap game. I do think Utah, with the way they're playing, though, will take care of business. I think Kyle Whittingham is a good enough coach to not let his team fall into the trap. But we'll see. I think it could potentially be closer than what I have it right now. But I do think Utah wins 34-14. I'm just so high on Utah right now, to be honest. I mean, that's really the reason. I mean, from what I've seen, the eye test, I know they don't have the wins. They haven't played anyone all that great. They do play Texas Tech coming up. They play Arizona State coming up. Those are 2 ranked teams. At BYU, that BYU is a team that could be close to the ranks. But this is a very manageable schedule. I'm going to be surprised if Utah ends up winning the Big 12 this year. They do look really, really strong. Number 18 is going to be Tennessee. Now, they have a huge game this week. Home against Georgia. Fortunately, they do get it at home. The money's actually been coming in on Tennessee. Georgia opened this as a 4.5-point favorite. It's now down to 3.5. We'll see if it continues to move. I think this is very interesting, though. Obviously, Tennessee last week goes out and beat East Tennessee State 72-17, an absolute domination. And that makes me feel really, really good and very interested about Tennessee because I did not expect Tennessee to be much this year. I thought they were a little overrated coming in. I didn't even have them ranked in my top 25 week one. Now I have to. They're 18 at this point. They continue to climb. They were up 48-7 at halftime. They honestly didn't even slow down once we got to the second half. Joey Aguilar looks legit. He almost threw for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think the key for Tennessee in this game against Georgia, they got to control the pit. If they can go out, if they can come out the gate swinging, they get a big play right away. They go up like 10-0 in the first quarter, in the first half. If they're up like 17-7 at halftime, if they're up really at any point, if they take an early lead, I think Georgia could be in some trouble because you're asking Gunnar Stockton to go out there, I believe, in his first SEC start to go out and chase. That would be interesting. I'd really like to see if Georgia is able to do that. We'll get to Georgia in a little bit because we got to talk about them. They look. It's not looking great. Tennessee does look great, which makes me want to pick them. I'm going to take Georgia, however. I think it's a very close game. I think Tennessee could for sure go out and win this game. I think this is a very winnable game for Tennessee. Would I be shocked if they win? No. I'm just going to trust Kirby Smart and the game management to be able to get a game plan and control the pace of this game, control the clock. I'm going to trust Kirby Smart to do that. I just trust him more than Josh Heupel. But could Tennessee win this game? For sure. I mean, Tennessee, if they wanted to beat Georgia, they had the 1 year with Hendon Hooker where they go out and beat Alabama. They were the number one team. And then Georgia just took care of them. They handled them. They controlled the game. And that was when Tennessee's elite offense, I think they wanted to come out swinging in that game, and they couldn't. I think Tennessee's going to want to do the same, and I'm going to trust Kirby Smart to be able to neutralize that a little bit, neutralize the big plays. I think Georgia does win. I think it's very close, though. If Tennessee can get out to an early lead, though, I think they will win the game. I'm not sure if Georgia will be able to come back if Tennessee comes out the gates swinging. I actually really wanted to pick Tennessee in this game just because they just dropped 72 points in a game where they could have potentially been looking ahead to Georgia, but they go out and prove that they were not. They were focused on the week, 72 points. I do think Georgia will win, though. I just trust them a little bit more. Could I be wrong? For sure. If I'm wrong, Tennessee's probably a top 10 team next week. They're moving way up. But yeah, Tennessee, I do think Georgia wins. I think it will be very close, however. 17-9 Ole Miss. I think people are sleeping on Ole Miss a little bit. I think I was too, to be fair. I move up 4 spots. They go out to Kentucky on the road. It's an SEC road game. That early in the season, it's always tough. They go out and win 30-23. They were pretty much in control of this game for the majority. Besides, being down 10-0 right away, they got it together in the second quarter. They went up 14-10. They were up 17-13 at halftime. They were leading for the majority of this game. I'm a little worried about Austin Simmons. He did throw 2 picks, 0 touchdowns. That is unfortunate, but their running back, Kawan Lacey, I think that's how you say his name, they gave him 30 carries, and he got 138 yards. That's almost 5 yards per carry. That's really solid. Harrison Wallace on the outside looks really good. He had 4 receptions for 117 yards. I think this is a good win for Ole Miss. Good quality win. I think against Arkansas, they will do the same. I think it'll be kind of close for a little bit, but I think Ole Miss will be able to take care of business. I think Lane Kiffin will move to 3-0. Sorry, that's supposed to say 1-0 in conference. I forgot to change that for Ole Miss there. But yeah, it's a pretty big win here against Kentucky. I think it's deserving, so I do move them up quite a bit. Did I think about putting the past couple teams ahead of them? Sure, I could have. But I'm going to have Ole Miss here at my... This is my number 17. I don't want anyone behind them to jump them, just because Ole Miss's win was a pretty solid win. Number 16 is going to be A&M. Now, the final score, 44-22. You maybe want to see a little bit more. I think this one's a little bit, Utah State and UTSA are not terrible teams. I like what I'm seeing from Marcel Reed, however. He had 4 total touchdowns in this game, 220 passing yards, 66 rushing yards. He is really dangerous. And I know the box score will say it was a closer game. Texas A&M was up 30-6 at halftime. I mean, they were in control of this game. It was 44-14 at one point. That looks a lot better than 44-22. They still won by 3 scores. Um, I think Texas A&M looks really solid. I'm not all that worried about them, to be honest. Now, they go into South Bend to play Notre Dame. And honestly, I don't know what to do here. I think this one is just about as 50-50 as the Tennessee Georgia game. It really could go either way. Like, I honestly have no clue what I'm going to do here. I'm thinking about it right now, and I don't like who I'm picking. Um, I think A&M, they could very well be a playoff team this year. I really do believe that. It's a manageable schedule. You're looking at it. Auburn's kind of a tough game. Florida's kind of a tough game. But at LSU, at Texas, South Carolina, those are probably the hardest games besides at Notre Dame. If they can win 2 of those 4, they finish 10-2. They're probably a playoff team with the schedule. Um, I think A&M could very well go out and win this game. I'm going to pick Notre Dame just because they're at home. It's a night game. If this was in Kyle Field, if this was in College Station, I'd probably pick Texas A&M, honestly. I think it's that close. I think Marcel Reed is going to be a problem for Notre Dame. We'll see if they can. And I think Concepcion is going to have a good game. Notre Dame loves to play man coverage. I think Concepcion will be able to get open for A&M, make some plays. I think if Notre Dame can limit the big plays, I think they'll be fine. But hopefully, Notre Dame gives Jeremiah Love the ball a little bit more. They didn't really do that against Miami. They kind of relied a little too much, in my opinion, on C.J. Carr. If they have to do that again, I think A&M will win. I just think Notre Dame comes out. Marcus Freeman, it's kind of a must-win scenario for them. If they start out 0-2, that's alarm bells going off. It's at home. It's at night. I think they give Jeremiah Love the ball, and I don't know if Texas A&M will be able to kind of deal with that. I think they'll be all right, but I feel like Jeremiah Love is bound to break away and make a big play. I'm going to take Notre Dame to win. I think they give Jeremiah Love the ball enough. I think they take it out of the hands of C.J. Carr and just put it in the hands of their other playmakers. Jaden Greathouse as well. He's very solid. So we'll see. But like I said, I mean, A&M could very well, if they get some big plays, they control the game. If they play this game how they want to play and not play to what Notre Dame wants, then A&M could very well go out on the road and win this game and get a huge win. I feel like I've said this, but if they go out and win this game, they could for sure be a top 10 team next week. Yeah, I think this is a very exciting game. Probably the game of the week. You could argue Tennessee, Georgia. I think this is the game of the week, however. But yeah, I got Notre Dame winning by 3 points. We will see, though. Could A&M win by 3? For sure. Could A&M win by 7? Sure. I mean, like I said, it could go a whole lot of different outcomes here. Moving on, though, to number 15, it's going to be Alabama. After all the alarm bells were going off after the Florida State loss, after everyone was calling for the head of Kalen DeBoer, calling for his firing, they go out and beat UL Monroe 73-0, and they kind of needed to. They needed to kind of silence some people. I still do think this roster, talent-wise, is a top 10 roster in football. I'm not going to rank them as low as the AP poll, because I do think Florida State is that good of a team, and it was on the road. It was week 1, Ty Simpson's first start. Ty Simpson looked very solid in this game. They had 7 passing touchdowns between 3 quarterbacks as well in this game. I mean, really, everyone got to play. It was never a question. Ty Simpson was 17 for 17, mind you, in this game. That's a really good look. And Alabama was up 42-0 at halftime. They just continued it all the way through. It looks like, I mean, they never stopped. They just kept pouring it on UL Monroe, and I think that's kind of what the Bama fans needed to just kind of settle them down, because in not this week but next week they got to go into Athens to play Georgia. That is a huge game, make or break game, honestly. Now against Wisconsin, I don't think they can overlook this game. I think Wisconsin's a talented team. They got some sneaky guys. Now Wisconsin does have one of the hardest schedules in the country this year. I think Alabama will not overlook this. I think Kalen DeBoer knows what he needs to do. I think Alabama goes out there. They're 21.5-point favorites. I do have Wisconsin covering. I think Wisconsin's talented enough to cover, but it is in Tuscaloosa. Could Alabama cover for sure? They looked really good last week. I I'm just going to be a little bit more passive with them, but they definitely out-talent Wisconsin pretty much everywhere. I do think Alabama wins, take care of business relatively easily. I got them at 15. I don't think they should be 19, like where the AP poll has them. I got them still at 15, because I think Florida State is really that good, and the AP poll has Florida State higher than me, so I don't really understand why Alabama's so low. Somebody could explain that to me. I don't really know. Moving on, though, number 14 is going to be Iowa State. They pick up another huge win. Iowa State looks really good, man. Like I said, they've got to be the favorite to win the Big 12 at this point. Rocco Becht is just a baller. When the lights are shining brightest, it feels like he plays his best. He picks up another close win against Iowa, a team that I thought could potentially have been ranked last week. I was close to ranking them myself. Iowa State goes out and wins 16-13. I mean, Iowa State just trusts Rocco Becht to make the plays in the heat of the moment. I mean, it's really that simple. It was 13-13 in this game. Rocco Becht goes down there, and goes ahead and wins them the game-winning drive, the game-winning field goal, I guess you could call it, with about 2 minutes left. Iowa State's defense gets the 3-and-out right away. Now, I know Iowa's quarterback looked really bad. Mark Gronowski, only 83 yards and a pick. Rocco Becht didn't, stats-wise play all that good, but he did lead the game-winning drive, and I think he did enough. Obviously, these games are just always low-scoring. Against Arkansas State on the road, I think they'll win pretty easily here. I don't know, man. I think Iowa State's got to be the favorite in the Big 12 at this point. And you look at the schedule, I mean, this is a really easy schedule. You got through maybe probably 2 of your 3 hardest games already. The next hardest games are probably BYU and Arizona State. That's really it. I mean, Iowa State could very well finish the regular season 12-0. We'll see if that does end up being the case, but I like them, man. They're 3-0 at this point. They are rolling. Iowa State at 14. I like it. I like it a lot. I think they're in a very good spot to make the playoffs. Clemson, moving down 5 yet again. They continue to fall. They start out the season at 4. Now they're down at 13 for me. I have them lower than the AP poll does. But, man, you can't have that look against Troy. It is Troy, and they were down 16-0 at one point. That is just unacceptable, quite frankly. When you bring back that many starters, you can't excuse that. It was 16-3 at halftime. I know Clemson right out the gate in the second half just took over. They got 2 touchdowns to go up 17-16, and they held on near the end. But it's not like they blew them out in the second half or anything crazy. I know Troy didn't score in the second half, but I don't know, man. It's plain and simple. It's not a good look to be down 16-0 to Troy, and it wasn't like it was in the first quarter, like the first 2 drives. This was a touchdown in the first quarter, a field goal to start the second quarter, and a pick 6 later in the second quarter. I mean, it was a bad look. It was just a bad game all around. Cade Klubnik threw sub 200 yards. He had a pick. I don't know, man. This is definitely cause for concern for Clemson. Maybe they were looking ahead to this game. I guess you could maybe say that. Georgia Tech is a really good team. They did go out and beat Colorado week 1, and I heard a lot of buzz about Georgia Tech coming into the season. They could be a sneaky team in the ACC. It's on the road as well. Clemson's only a 3.5-point favorite. I actually like Clemson to cover, but just barely. I think this is going to be a very close game. I do think Clemson wins, but man, the way they're looking, I mean, if they play like they did against Troy, I don't know if they're going to win this game. And if they start out 1-2, Clemson's going to be in a lot of trouble because this was the year Dabo Swinney was supposed to silence all the haters. A lot of people were picking them to win the national championship. That's how excited people were, myself included. I said week 1, I said Clemson would probably be my pick to win it all. And here they are. Down 16-0 to Troy. It's really concerning. Could they figure it out? For sure. I mean, they have the experience. Maybe they're just starting slow, but man. And they looked worse against Troy than they did against LSU. I don't know, man. It's not a good look. We'll see. We'll see if they can bounce back on the road against Georgia Tech. It is a very tough game, so if they get a win, it will be a solid win. Number 12, though, Moving on to number 12 is going to be South Carolina moving down one. They were kind of playing around a little bit with SC State. They end up winning by 28 points, so not terrible. But like I said, they were kind of playing around a little bit. There was a lot of that this week. Clemson as well. They were down 3-0 at the end of the first quarter. They didn't go into halftime up 17-3. It was just a slow start, honestly. Lenore Sellers didn't really do much through the air in this game. Didn't really have to. It's just kind of a slow all-around game for South Carolina. I'm not going to panic too much. I would like to see them play a little bit better. They haven't played great through the first 2 weeks of the season. I think Lenore Sellers, though, is probably one of the best players in the country. Not probably, he is. So I'm going to move him down one. I'm going to be a little bit safe, but I'm not going to move him down anything crazy like Clemson, because Clemson was a really bad showing. Vanderbilt, I think it will be kind of close, just because of the way South Carolina is playing. I would love for them to go out and blow them out. Diego Pavia is still there. He was the guy who beat Alabama last year when they were ranked number 1. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but I think South Carolina will win. I just think they have too much talent here. Number 11 is going to be Oklahoma. They get a big win. Home against Michigan, 24-13, 11-point win, and the defense looks really good. We talked about the pass defense last week, but it looks really strong. John Mateer looks like the guy. He's probably maybe number 1 for Heisman at this point. He's been playing really, really good. Maybe not number 1, but he's definitely up there. And I'm really excited about Oklahoma. I know the schedule is really tough. It's kind of the same thing with Florida. I was really excited about them. They ended up losing. Oklahoma's taking care of business through the first 2 weeks. I think there's a chance Oklahoma's 5-0 going into that Texas game with the way they're playing right now. Auburn is a tough game, though. Auburn was probably my number 26 team. They were the closest team I had to being ranked that I didn't rank. So that's a tough game. Once you get to Clemson, or once you get to Texas, the schedule gets really, really challenging. So we'll see if they can kind of hold on throughout the year. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Oklahoma right now. And we're doing this as of right now. As of right now, I think Oklahoma's number 11. Will they finish? Could they even finish unranked? They definitely could. You look at the schedule, it's brutal. On the road against Temple, I think they will win. I think they could be maybe like a South Carolina SC State situation where they're kind of coming off the big win, looking ahead to Auburn a little bit, start off a little slow. But I do think John Mateer will be able to figure it out. And Oklahoma, just outside my top 10 at this point, they are looking really strong. Number 10 is going to be Florida State. Coming off the win against Alabama, they do not slow down at all. 77-3 win. Granted, it was against East Texas A&M, so not a good school. But 77 points against anyone is always tough. Now they play Kent State. I think they will. Let's go back. Forgot Kent State. They're on bye this week, so they play Kent State next week. So no prediction there. I was gonna go out and say that they blow them out, which they probably will. And coming off the bye, it's nice to get a little break. It is kind of early, but yeah, Florida State looks really good. They're moving up 4 spots. I think I had them a little bit low last week. I'm moving them up inside my top 10. Number 9 is going to be Illinois. They go out on the road against Duke in a game that I thought could be very close, and they go out and take care of business 45-19. It was close for a while. Duke was kind of in the game, but Illinois really just pulled away late. Duke was winning at halftime. In the second half, though, Illinois, it was really just all Illinois. They come out right away, score a touchdown, score another touchdown. They're up 28-13. Duke did try to make it interesting. They got a touchdown, then they got like a pick. I thought there was a chance they could make it a 1-score game. Illinois ends up scoring a field goal and 2 more touchdowns in the fourth quarter to make this kind of look like more of a blowout than it really was. But Illinois does look really good. Luke Altmaier threw for almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and they held Duke to 19 points on the road. Darian Mensah, who I was very excited about, he did throw for over 300 yards, but he did have a pick. So, I think Illinois is looking really good. And then that road game against Indiana will kind of kick it off because then they play USC. At Purdue should be a win, but then they play Ohio State. At Washington will be tough. That little, besides Purdue in the middle there, that little 4-game stretch will really tell me all I need to know about Illinois. But Illinois could very well finish the season 11-1. This is a very easy schedule. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Luke Altmaier and the Fighting Illini. I think they win against Western Michigan. No troubles here, 37-10. And yeah, Illinois inside the top 10. Never thought I'd be saying that, but here we are. Number 8's going to be Notre Dame. They're coming off the bye, so their previous game was still the Miami game. And we kind of already talked about this. They got to get Jeremiah Love the ball. I think they win 26-23, but could Texas A&M win for sure? If Notre Dame is able to limit the big plays, which I think there could be some, which makes me a little worried just because they play man coverage, and Marcel Reed is a dual threat quarterback that's always tough to game plan for. I feel like more signs are pointing towards Texas A&M, but I feel like that's always the case with Notre Dame. Against Penn State last year in the playoffs, all the signs were pointing towards Penn State. They're the more talented team. Notre Dame just ends up winning. Same thing against Georgia. All the signs were pointing towards Georgia. They always find a way to win. Kirby Smart. Notre Dame really is the team that always finds a way to win. They just got a great culture there under Marcus Freeman. I'm going to take them to win in the night game at home. I think Jeremiah Love, they got to give him the ball. They only gave him 10 carries, I think, against Miami. That's unacceptable. You got to give him the ball more than that. I think they will, and I think he will be the story on how they win this game. But Texas A&M, don't be surprised if next Tuesday we're talking about Texas A&M winning this game and Texas A&M being potentially a top 10 team. Yeah, I think it's a must-win game. You can't start out 0-2, man. Could they start out 0-2 and finish 10-2 for sure? They definitely could. The schedule's really, really light, but I feel like it's a must-win game. I feel like you got to win this game, and I think they will. I think Marcus Freeman knows that, so I got them winning, but it's, again, very close. Georgia, number 7, moving down a spot after winning, but they looked really bad against Austin Peay. 28-6 win, that is really, really bad. I mean, Georgia was getting stopped on the goal line going into the second half. How are you you are Georgia, and you're getting stopped on the goal line by Austin Peay. If that's not cause for concern, then I don't know what is. Gunnar Stockton, 227 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. So I guess he didn't throw any picks. I guess that's good. But it can't be that close against Austin Peay, man. It just can't. Maybe it's a different story if they go out and score that touchdown in the second half. Maybe I'm looking into it a little bit too much, because then they would have won 35-6 if you're just doing that logic. But it was a 2-score game in the fourth quarter. I mean, it's just not great. They're lucky the defense, Austin Peay just is a terrible team and can't score. But, if this was, a somewhat competent team, they could have lost this game. Georgia did not look good at all. And it looks like they just don't have a lot of momentum coming into this Tennessee game. Maybe they were looking ahead, but you look at these next two games, at Tennessee and then home against Bama. Those are two, top 20 teams right there. One of them's on the road, one of them's at home. Two of, Georgia's biggest rivals. I mean, it doesn't look great right now for Georgia. I'm going to trust Kirby Smart to go into Tennessee and get the win, but I could definitely see them losing this game, like I said, when we talked about Tennessee. I got them winning 27-24. I think they will win, but if Tennessee goes out and gets a lead early and Gunnar Stockton has to play from behind, I don't know if I feel great about Georgia winning this game. I'm going to trust Kirby Smart to manage the game and make sure that doesn't happen, but it definitely could. I got Georgia winning by 3, but Tennessee, don't be surprised if we're talking about Tennessee much higher in the rankings next week. I think Georgia could especially with it being on the road. It makes me feel really bad, especially with what I just saw from Georgia. I don't know, though. I'm going to trust Kirby Smart. I'm just going to trust. I trust them more, and it's really that simple. Number 6 is going to be Texas. I honestly don't like Texas being ahead of Georgia. I couldn't decide here between 7 and 6. I put Texas ahead just because I feel like Georgia looked worse, but Texas didn't look all that great either. Arch Manning was missing throws once again. He did look a little better. They did end up scoring 38 yards. He did have almost 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, but he did have the pick. I don't know. I think Arch Manning is fine. I think he just needs some time to ease in. I think people are getting a little too worried about him. I don't think it's, all over. I don't think the season's over, nothing like that. I don't think Arch Manning's mid. Everyone's saying that. I don't know. I think Texas is fine. I got them at 6. If Georgia goes out and beats Tennessee, though, they'll probably jump Texas again and maybe even higher, depending on how they do so. Against UTEP, I'll take Texas to win pretty easily here. The defense for Texas, by the way, looks really, really good, but we kind of knew that coming in. Kicking off the top 5, it's going to be Miami moving down 1. They did end up beating Bethune-Cookman 45-3. Good for them. We kind of talked about this. They can't overlook this game against South Florida. Look at this next 3-game stretch, by the way, for Miami. If they get through this 3-game stretch unscathed, they'll probably finish undefeated. Besides the at SMU game is maybe a little tough, but who knows how good SMU is. They just lost this past week to Baylor. I do think Baylor's a good team, though. But yeah, South Florida, you can't overlook this game. I know they got Florida, the big rivalry there. Florida overlooked South Florida, and look what happened. Miami cannot do the same. I think they know that. I think Mario Cristobal gets his guys ready. I do think South Florida covers just because I think South Florida is actually a really good team. But I do think Miami will pull away at some point. I just think they have too many weapons, too much talent on that roster. I think Carson Beck is experienced enough to not get upset. Hopefully, if South Florida wins this game, man, what a story that would be. But yeah, Miami's still going to be in the top 5. Really only moving down 1 just because the team behind them I felt deserved to be ahead. They didn't really do anything wrong necessarily. People aren't going to like this. I'm moving Penn State down yet again. I had them at 2 to start the season. I moved them down to 3 behind LSU. Now I'm moving them down to 4. They're just against FIU. I probably wouldn't have moved them down to 4 if they didn't look so iffy against FIU. Katron Allen had a really good game. Not going to take that away from him. But Penn State was only up 10-0 at halftime. I mean, it's just not good. I know Katron Allen had the big run in the fourth quarter. I know they figured it out for sure in the second half. Scored 24 points. But, I mean, you know, I don't know. 10-0 against FIU, you would kind of want them to be a little bit more than that. They didn't look great in the first half. I'm not worried about Penn State, honestly. And I don't think we're going to get a real clue about Penn State until they play that Oregon game. They got Villanova this week. I think they win easily. We'll see if that prediction ends up holding. Then they get a bye, and then they play Oregon at home. That'll be a real, true, way to see both of those teams because I have both those teams. I haven't talked about Oregon yet, so you know what that means. That means Oregon is coming up next, and they are coming up next here. At number 3, I have the Oregon Ducks moving up 2 spots. They go out and beat Oklahoma State 69-3. I saw the spread 20.5. I was like, no way. No way Oklahoma State's that bad. No way Oregon is that good. I thought Oklahoma State would cover. I think I had Oregon winning by like 21. Oregon wins 69-3. Mike Gundy was talking about the roster and the NIL. Oregon just shut that up real quick, winning by 66 points. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Dan Lanning, if you give him any sort of motivation, he just tends to get those guys ready to play. Oregon looks dangerous, man. DeCorian Moore, I know he's a freshman. He is not playing like a freshman. I said this coming in. I think he's going to be this year's Ryan Williams. He is not disappointed. Dante Moore looks legit as well. I talked about it. He has a lot of potential. Well, he's playing to that potential. 266 yards, 3 touchdowns. Noah Whittington looks really good on the ground for them. They didn't really even have to play anybody all that special. DeCorian Moore obviously had the long touchdown early in the game. It was just a bloodbath throughout. And Oregon they gave Mike Gundy his biggest loss with Oklahoma State he's ever had. They were 41-3 at halftime, and it was just ridiculous. Ridiculous stuff from Oregon. They look really, really strong. I got them at number 3. I got them jumping Penn State. First Big Ten game for them. It's on the road, so it's going to be a little bit of a travel. I think they will start out a little bit slow, but it's Northwestern. I don't think Northwestern's that good. I think they will end up winning. Number 2 is going to be LSU. They're going to remain here. I actually thought about moving Oregon all the way up to 2. I think it's a bit of an overreaction. LSU did still win this game 23-7. Obviously, you'd like it to be a little bit more. I think they're going to be all right, though. This game was sandwiched between Clemson on the road and Florida at home. Maybe they were just looking ahead. LSU, similar with Penn State, they were only up 10-0 at halftime. Penn State didn't end up winning by more. So maybe I'm just an idiot. Maybe Penn State deserves to be here. But I don't know. I think LSU still has, that Clemson win on the road. One of the best wins so far. Penn State doesn't have that. And I think Oregon winning 69-3, that's enough to justify this ranking. I do think LSU will beat Florida. I think Florida could keep it close in the first half, but I think LSU is too good. I think that defense is legit, which is a problem. If LSU has a good defense, you're in for some trouble because LSU never has a good defense, and they're always pretty good without one. Now that they have one, LSU's dangerous, like I've been saying. Garrett Nussmeier, 237 yards, a touchdown and a pick, 15 incompletions. Not a great game for him. If he plays like that against Florida, I think it could be a lot closer. But I do think he'll be all right. I think play just fine. So I got to LSU at number 2. And at this point, I think Ohio State's unquestioned number 1. They go and beat Grambling 70-0. Jeremiah Smith, great game. Carnell Tate, great game. Literally everybody, great game. Everyone in the program, it seemed like, played in this game. Bo Jackson was running all over the place. Maybe he'll be a problem in the near future. Yeah, they didn't skip a beat. Coming off that Texas win, maybe they could have started slow. Nope. Julian Sands starts out the game 15 for 15, almost 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, I think it was. Or maybe it was 3. Either way, if you're starting out 15 for 15 with 300 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns, you're doing something right. I think he would have had a 4th or a 5th, by the way, but then he threw a pick on the goal line for his first incompletion. It ultimately didn't matter. They won 70-0. It was against Grambling. It's not like Oregon, they were playing a Power 5 team. It was a Power 4 team. It was against Grambling, but 70 points against anyone, like I said, is always tough. They play Ohio this week. A little bit of a rivalry there, I guess. But I think Ohio State will be able to win this game pretty easily here. I'm not too worried. I got them winning 42-6. I think Ohio State's got to be the unquestioned number 1 at this point. Penn State is getting 5 number 1 votes. LSU's getting 2. Oregon's getting 1 in the AP poll. In my opinion, Ohio State has to get all of those. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm biased as an Ohio State fan, but I think at this point, Ohio State's got to be the unquestioned number 1. I think there was a little bit of a question, week 1, week 2, maybe. You could argue LSU, Penn State. At this point, I don't think you can. I think Ohio State is number 1 until further notice. Now, my rankings, I'm not like the AP poll. I will shift my rankings a lot. You saw that Georgia moving down just 1 spot just because they looked bad. I'll tweak my rankings just because teams win and, one team's behind another last week. That doesn't mean, they'll be behind them again if they both win. It's all dependent on how you look. That's how I like to do my rankings. But that is going to do it for my Week 3 Top 25 College Football Playoff Rankings. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you go on there, leave a like, subscribe. We do college basketball, college football every Tuesdays, NFL every Wednesdays, NBA and MLB videos every week. So if any of that interests you, make sure you go on there, subscribe, turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss whenever we upload. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below what you agree, what you disagree, any questions you have. Love to answer those. Try to answer every comment. But that is going to do it. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow with our Week 2 NFL picks. Hope you guys enjoyed this one.